Jai Hind viewers, we come back to you with another panel discussion on the topic of learning and development in MRO. We have with us a very eminent panel. We have with us Lieutenant General Dr. Anil Kapoor, who served as the Director General Electronics and Mechanical Engineers and Director General Infosystems. He's a chartered engineer. He was awarded the Eminent Engineer Award 2020 by Institution of Engineers. He's a professor of practice at IIT Tirupati and also a board member in their innovation hub. He writes and speaks on emerging technologies like C7, ISR, and AI in many publications and platforms. We also have with us Mr. Arun Krishna, who is a BTech mechanical from NIT Kurukshetra and MBA Finance. He has extensive experience in avionics industry, in planning, manufacturing, MRO, lean assembly, and testing. He specializes in technology, R&D, engineering, strategic project management, collaboration, problem solving. He is a member, Industry and Academic Council of Rajikaya Engineering College, Ambedkar Nagar, and member, Board of Studies in Kamala Nehru Institute of Technology, Sultanpur. He holds many certifications, which include Independent Director from IICA and Managing the Company of the Future and Designing and Design Thinking for Innovation and also Supply Chain Principles. We also have with us Commander Sonal Saxena, who is an MTech in aeronautics and has more than 21 years of rich and varied experience in leadership and technology in both aviation and marine domains. His fortes include strategy formulation, innovation, process optimization, quality management, safety audit, and root cause analysis with exposure to cutting edge STEM in both domains. With that, may I first request General Anil Kapoor to kindly give his opening remarks on today's topic. Anil, please.
Thank you, sir. Good day to all the panelists. I think the topic we have on hand is evergreen because learning and development is a lifelong process. But when we look at it from an MRO perspective, I've been thinking about it. There are two very distinct, should I say, issues which stand out. First is when we look at learning and development, there is a systems view or a systems lens. And the second is a product lens. Let me first look at the systems lens. We know the various tools and pillars of sustainment and tools and specialized test equipment, specialized tools. All these categories actually comprise one big chunk of systems view. Today, anybody who's wanting to get into MRO must know how to effectively exploit and use all these specialized machine tools, all these specialized test equipment. Add to this inventory the fact that you need to today know 3D printing. You should be able to carry out intricate 3D printing. And then there's a need for surface finish in large number of applications today, especially defense applications. And therefore, that's another area which is very important. Additive manufacturing is coming up in a big way. We have robo-based orthogonal welding techniques and the like. So therefore, on the systems view side, when we look at the whole gamut, I think there's a huge amount of technology adding to the pillars of sustainment. The second thing adding in the pillars of sustainment from the learning point of view, learning and development point of view, self-development point of view, is data and software. So really, there is a huge amount of data management, big data analytics, software techniques which need to be developed. And we have embedded systems with both hardware and software. And therefore, today, this is yet another very distinct systems approach where we need to have a very well-defined stream which looks at software development and software upgrades as equipment keep moving ahead. So there's the hardware and there's the software. There's technology and there's data. So that is the vertical, which I call the systems lens, which when we look at it. And these are some basics today. I mean, all of us who've lived with MRO, we know that we looked at basic traits, but today the the feel and form and fit of basic trades is changing with this kind of a systems view, where technology is taking a front seat. If you don't have a spare today, it's no longer a constraint. You can 3D print it. But for that, you need to know how to do it and how to create the correct specifications, how to do the surface finish to get the right fit for what is required. Then we come to the second lens, which is the product lens, and product includes equipment. So having known the basics of systems, let's get to products. Now, so you could have a mechanic who's very good in, say, vehicles. And if we were to actually look at a pencil beam kind of a specialization, somebody could be very good in Mercedes. Somebody could be very good in Hyundai. Somebody could be very good in Toyota. So somebody could be very good in aviation. And when we look at aviation, we could again look at rotary, fixed wings. Even in rotary, there's huge amount of variety. So really speaking, when we look at the product view, we look at firstly the macros. That means aviation as a macro. Then we look at micros, which is fixed versus rotary. And then we further look at the specialization, which could be, a Bell helicopter or a ALH or a Cheetah Chetak or the like. So really speaking, we have this kind of a learning and development curve which goes on. And therefore, when we look at MRO specialists, and all of us happen to be in that stream, you may actually start anywhere. Your learning and development is a lifelong process. I remember when Jal Matharu and me, we were together. He was my boss, and we used to talk that how do we improve the skill levels? And we used to say, okay, let's say everyone must try and master one equipment every year. If he does it in a 20-year span of service, he would actually be mastering 20 pieces of equipment. So really speaking, there are no easy answers, but it has to come from within each one of us. So if I'm a MRO specialist, I should prime up myself to learn the specialist skills and learn the product skills. And then maybe as I keep prodding ahead, I would become more and more specialized in whatever I do. So these are some opening remarks I thought on learning and development when we look at MRO, but I will be keen to listen to other views. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Anil. That's right. And yes, I remember we had many professional discussions when we were together in the East. And I think it was mutually benefiting. So now what you have covered is the challenges also are emerging in everything you are saying, that it is so difficult, it's not easy. And at the same time, the challenge has to be met. So now may I request Mr. Arun Krishna to kindly give his remarks.
Yeah, thank you, everyone, the eminent panelists and the people who are listening to this panel discussion. As far as the topic is concerned, training and development or learning and development in MRO. So since I have been associated with this kind of activities, I will talk about from my perspective what I have seen and what I have seen, what are the difficulties we usually face when we do MRO of any equipment or any product or services. So actually, when we talk about the MRO and when we talk about the specialization of the people who actually does the MRO activity, so we need to understand what has changed actually, which really requires the need for the MRO, and how from legacy to modern equipment or product, we need to make people competent enough to tackle the switch over from legacy to modern era. But as far as the Indian perspectives are concerned, you see, we are maintaining the fleets or equipment or product which are as old as 1970s or 1960s. Still, we are maintaining. So there is a huge amount of difficulty in maintaining those legacy equipment as well as the equipments which have joined the fleet in the recent past. So, and the operators and the persons who are actually doing the MRO activities remains the same. So biggest challenge for the industry is how to train them, how to make them learn to understand the analog process to digital process of diagnostic system. Because if you see from the analog system which were there in the fleet earlier, now all are digital systems, all have sensors, all are providing data to a central computer. So it has in one way make the job easier for the operator who are actually operating the system, the product. But the people who are maintaining it now are able to get large amount of data, which they analyze and then come to know that these are the activities which need to be performed. Now, things which have changed from switch over from legacy to modern fleet or modern system or product is the material, the manufacturing technology, the avionics suits which have come up, the sensors, the navigation systems. It has changed drastically, and the maintenance philosophy itself has changed. So in order to cope up with all those challenges, I think there is a continuous need to upgrade people who are actually doing the job and make them aware about the digitization process, make them make them learn the computer first, because all the data which people download from the system or product is through computer only. Now it is in iPad only. So it is on hand. All data are in your hand. Another thing which I want to know based on my experience, that once you get the equipments for the MRO, there are large amount of equipments which are coming for servicing and all that. So a good operator or a good person who is actually maintaining the product nicely, he is able to generate data based on his experience, that if such faults have come, number of times which components have got failed. So they make a data, and based on that, once the system comes for repair and maintenance, they actually come to know before, based on the failure report, that this may be the nature of fault. So that is how the system has gone into. Now, if you talk about the particular systems, all systems have a means to know that if this is faulty, this may be the reason, or this may be the component or product which is faulty. So another aspect of which from the industrial point of view, which I see, that once you select the people for the MRO activity, he should have the nick for the diagnostic capability, or he should have capacity or capability to understand, or interest. He should have interest in diagnostic systems. So then only he can perform better in the system. Now, if you take overall perspective, that why we are doing it, why we want that this learning and development should be a continuous process for the MRO, is because the things are changing and changing very fast. Now, systems, if you use it in a particular product, it gets obsolete. The components gets obsolete. Like electronic components get obsolete within a period of 4 to 5 years. It is so fast. Now, once you change those components with the alternatives, you may need to change the design itself, the basic design itself. So it's not an easy job. So you should always be running over the obsolescence part, as well as seeing what is getting changed, and need to get update. Like General Anil Kapoor has talked about the special type test equipments. Those things also need to be updated and maintained continuously in order to be relevant for the MRO activity. Now, upskilling of the technician is a necessity now, and the people who have learned experience, now they are on the verge of fag end of their career. So they need to pass on their technology to. So these are some challenges which all MRO industries are facing now. But bigger than that, they are now equipping themselves. These industries are now equipping themselves that irrespective of whosoever is performing these activities, there are somebody in the backup who can take over this activity, and that is how this learning process goes. And there are some specialized learning and development uh, modules available for the MRO, which particular industry like GE and BAE systems and all that, they have a very good module of MRO activities. Like that, I think in India, we have started doing that. And in the recent times, they have come up to that level, so that, and all this is done because to create customer satisfaction. Ultimately, everything leads to that part. So MRO is becoming a very, very important activity, and learning and development in this aspect has become a very important. So industry not only should focus on the MRO, but the learning and development of their personnel who are actually performing this activity. This is all in the introduction I want to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Krishna. It is wonderful to have you on this panel discussion. And what you have just covered are so many important points, and anybody who is in MRO and who is looking at training will certainly gain from the wisdom. So this is the very purpose of this platform, that we are hoping that more and more very high quality individuals come to our platform and express their views, because the wisdom they carry of decades can come in really handy to those of us who are still in service or still in appointments. And you're welcome to discuss with them, because I would also like to mention here that we always give the links to all our panelists to their LinkedIn profiles in the show notes when we upload the video. So thank you very much, Mr. Krishna. And what you have said the challenges, and similar in a way what General Anil has said. So now may I request, and also you have given the way forward, may I now request Sonal Commander Sonal Saxena to kindly give his initial thoughts.
Good day, sir. Good day to all the panelists and all the listeners. This learning and development in the present day scenario of MROs, where technology is changing so fast, so radically. There are so many technologies coming in. You need backgrounds of coding, you need backgrounds, you need skills. So my experience has been that what this cannot be done in small with limited infrastructure. What we need to develop is technology centers, and especially in today's world where there's so much of multitude of technologies that are available. What again we need to these technology centers, they have to be combined with that kind of a knowledge source. They have to be synchronized with that, so that the learners who are coming over, they get the complete system, a wholesome knowledge of the complete equipment. Now, for this kind of a thing, there are a technology center has to be in a hybrid mode, wherein and different levels of technology that has to be fed into the learning and development curriculum. That is the basic, like we have in aviation, we have basic aircraft maintenance course. Then we have the type trainings that happen. Now, type trainings are for a multitude of aircraft that are there. So, giving that type training for each aircraft, it's for each aircraft also there are different trades: airframe, engines, electrical, radio, and all that. So, for if a technician is coming in and you cannot sustain a technology center or L&D center for just one aircraft. So you need to have at least 5-10 types of aircraft that you need to sustain in that one L&D center. For the basic aircraft maintenance, when you get the instructors, it's very easy to one instructor can take the class for all 20 types of technicians that are there. But when it comes to type training, you will have only one technician in the class, maybe, or two technicians in the class. So it becomes very difficult to manage that. Now, that is very big challenge which is going to happen all over the MRO industry. Aviation is a very small example, because you go to any technical branch, you have technologies from very varied backgrounds and radically changing. So this will be a very big challenge, and I feel we need to address that challenge. We need to find instructor resources, teaching resources in a L&D center for such such training. For that, we'll have to use, there is availability of the virtual modes nowadays, or online modes of training, which is not as effective when you want a hands-on skill to develop. But yes, for knowledge, basic knowledge gaining, the virtual modes are very good. For skill training, you need simulators or a hands-on training on that particular equipment. So the technology centers will have to have a framework to marry both of them, and this will also have costs involved, huge costs involved when you are putting all such resources in one particular technology center or a L&D center. So optimization of costs and maintaining it in a profitable basis again will be a challenge. You'll have to share resources with multiple institutions, because this, as brought out by Arunji, it was the older lot which is now going, which had the experience. That lot is limited in number, and whereas you require, with the growth, it's actually explosion of growth that has happened in all sectors of MRO. So these resources will have to be tapped. This talent, this old experience will have to be tapped and will have to be shared by multiple L&D centers in this. So these 3-4 challenges will be the key deciding factor in formulation of a learning and development center for MROs in today's world. That is from my side.
Yeah. Thank you, Sonal. That's you have actually touched upon many issues, and also sort of given a way forward also as to what we need to do. You brought in the aspect of how the infrastructure has to be rebuilt up, and so that brings actually to me to the query. Now, for this query, many of the panelists can, once I said it, can raise their hand on this, and then I will come to you. Anybody can answer. So you see, what we are struggling with in MRO is always, which every one of the panelists has already touched upon, is that you are forced to specialize, because no one person can know everything, and so that leads to a trade structure. And once you have a trade structure, then the issue is how much specialization, because the moment you specialize more, then the number of trades go up, then the training becomes a challenge, something which Sonal has also referred to. And also, especially, let's say, in the case of defense, especially land systems, the issue is that you have to bring a person to a level where he can work independently, or he or she can work independently on their own. So that level of training is needed, and it is getting further accentuated by the emerging technology which is finding its way into our systems, which Mr. Arun Krishna has also mentioned, and which General Anil Kapoor also mentioned. So now, with all these things happening, and Mr. Arun Krishna mentioned from somebody who's trained in legacy now coming into futuristic, and the amount of data which is coming in, and it's well nigh impossible for a human being to actually look at all of that, even if he's adept at computing. But how will you look at an Excel sheet full of data of sensors to come to any conclusion? So no doubt experience, which like Mr. Arun Krishna mentioned, does come in, and sometimes experienced technicians are able to sense it and figure out things on their own. But there is something more which needs to be done, because the problem is that the bar of skill and knowledge is rising on a daily basis, and our intake necessarily at the technician level especially has to be of a particular type. So that also is another challenge, and from there, how to train them and keep them trained, and to keep on up to this bar again becomes a challenge. So I think there is something like a tech assist you need for the technicians also nowadays, maybe, because it will not be just like the user of the equipment is getting a lot of assistance through technology, so has the maintainer got to get. And recently on our group, we had come across, I had posted a news that the United States Navy has created a AI tool because, like Commander Sonal Saxena just mentioned, you need to get into AR, VR, AI to really be able to make your maintainer more empowered. So though he's doing everything, he or she, they are doing everything on the ground, no doubt, and they trained for it, but the information comes in through this. And so the US Navy has launched a conversational AI tech support. The name is Amelia. So that's interesting development, and this is especially in the advent of AI and recent Chat GPT. These all seem to be in the realm of possibility. Of course, communication in remote areas will become an issue, so it will have to carry everything. The device which the individual has, it has to be fed with the latest thing, so that can be used without even a communication network. I will just correlate with what we did in map reading, in the armed forces. Like earlier, we used to use maps, but then as GPS came in, things, at least that part became slightly easier. But then it brought in its own complications. So it's like a mixed bag. So the question where I am putting here is, how do we meet this rising bar, and at the same time, how do we tech assist or something like that to do something about it? General Kapoor, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Right. I think it's a very interesting discussion that we are doing. Now, the way I look at it, firstly, today, when we look at AI or anything, for it to be effective, you need a humongous amount of data. Because the truth value of any algorithm or any machine learning is based on the depth of data that you have and depth of truthful data. There are a lot of dark data also available these days. And there are a lot of synthetic data which is available these days. So you have to be very careful, because if you pick the wrong data set, you may get entirely wrong outputs. It's exactly what we say in computers, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So for that, I think we need to be more prepared with a very, very elaborate system of sensors and data analytics before we could venture into artificial intelligence giving us the kind of support we are looking at. But to my mind, where we could get supported is today there are a lot of these Wi-Fi based systems where you have the AR, VR kind of learning modules available. So we have got these interactive electronic technical manuals, IETMs. And actually sitting in a very remote area, you could actually put on your 3D goggles and invoke the IETM and then get totally educated on whatever your doubts are. So that could be one aspect of looking at the future, that one is we need to technologically upgrade ourselves to be able to get to a level where AI starts making a significant impact on MRO. Perhaps we are not there at this point in time. And the second is looking at from a learning and development perspective. I think AR, VR based e-learning modules and IETMs must become part of our future procurements. That means when I buy a future missile system or a future tank or anything, I should not ask for technical manuals. I should ask for IETMs, which are interactive. And therefore, that may be a paradigm shift in our training by itself. So that is the new technology threshold, if I may say. But coming back to what you touched initially, to my mind, I again look at the systems lens and the product lens. When I look at the systems lens today, skill is going to be a new normal. In fact, you have the white collar job and the blue collar job. I call the skill as a new collar job, which is a mix of white and blue. I mean, all of us in the profession have been both white and blue collar guys, putting on dangris when required and uniform at other times. And we acquired the skills on the job, and therefore on the job learning and on the job training is a huge, huge opportunity which will remain. It has been in the past, it will continue in the future. In fact, India has been known to be the Guru Chela system right from Gurukul days. And I think that system, irrespective of everything, is going to be the panacea for all times to come. Because what one can learn from each other, I think is the best learning that you get on the job. And so that would be one perspective of looking at obsolete to state of the art. I mean, there is a lot of mentoring that happens, and in our Guru Chela system, it's not only the Guru who teaches the Chela. Actually, today there's a lot of reverse mentoring. Today, a lot of things the Chela can teach the Guru, especially in terms of new skills and new way of thinking, because perhaps the gurus may not be as, and all of us are in that stage where we are not as adept as our children are when they handle IT, when they handle chat GPT and others. We may know the big picture, but when it comes to the small picture, which is also equally important, especially when we talk of skills, I think there is a need to look at that. So really speaking, from a skills perspective, from a systems perspective, we need to look at, Sonal mentioned of technology centers. I think that's a brilliant idea. Today, I feel that all engineering colleges, all ITIs, and in fact in US, even in the libraries, you have 3D printing machines in the libraries, in public libraries. And children right from class age 10 upwards are eligible to learn 3D printing and design and develop what they want to. There is laser cutting, laser designing. A lot of these things are there. And as I dwell more and more into it, I find that the ecosystem has got created here where, if I were a parent of a child and in US, I would definitely put my children into the public library to learn so many skills that exist, from attitudes to aptitudes. The complete spectrum is there. Dramatics is there, music is there, you name it, and it's all free. So I think that is the new normal that we as a future India. I know we are the highest population, but I think a lot of CSR should now start getting into this kind of a professional responsibility which industry must take, and look at public libraries, look at their own setups, look at engineering colleges where they should adopt or create such kind of infrastructure, which finally actually is going to build the skills in the country. So I think that is one big ticket which one can look at when we look at Skill India as a mission. I think as a mission, we should look at pulverizing the nation with all these things, so that even in the rural areas, you got these children who are quite adept at using these things. Because I may not know the why of things in skill. But if I know the how of things, it is equally important. As an example, if I were to 3D print something and surface finish something, like we know our age-old mechanics on the roadside, he may not be an engineer, but he knew his job better than an engineer because he was so focused on what he did. He was researching his own skills. I think so. We need to look at skill from that perspective. And the second lens is the product lens. I think in the product lens, OJT is going to be the new normal, continue to be the rather old normal, which is going to get re-evolved into new normals as the technology keeps progressing more and more. And like I said, the OJT will be a two-way street and no longer a Guru Chela. It will be Guru and Chela, and Chela Guru also, based on the needs. The last thing I want to touch upon is that we need to make MRO a very interesting exercise. And here I'd like to share experience from when I was in the army. We started something called exercise Vishwakarma. And Vishwakarma was exactly like in sports. You have A playing B. So within a trade, we said, okay, the greenhorns, those who have just learned it, and those who are semi-skilled and those who are fully skilled, they will compete with each other. And the intention was of this competition used to be to give each other the sheen of the other guy. So there's a lot of reverse mentoring, there's a lot of forward mentoring happening in this. And then we looked at product level competitions. The best guys and then we reduced it to inter-company, and then an inter-battalion, and then an inter-formation. And the kind of activity it generated and the kind of interest it generated in self-learning, and I may mention here that one greenhorn, I gave him a spot award because he demonstrated out of proportion abilities in doing a job which was much beyond his both capabilities and capacity at the service at which he was. But he worked day and night to acquire that skill and demonstrate it on ground to get that award. And that is the new normal. And that's why I say that skill is a new culture. Skill is a new collar, and it knows no degree. It knows no profession. It is inborn. And today, I think the industry must also start looking at it from this perspective, that if we skill India with corporate social responsibility, the way we've done social responsibility, I think learning and development is very much a social responsibility. With the youth bulge that we have, which is we are calling a demographic dividend, if they have to be fruitfully employed globally, I think Skill India is a big mission. And it should be looked at from a learning and development perspective. Thank you. If
Thank you,
you
Anil. You have actually the terms which you are using, they are paraphrasing the challenges as well as the solutions quite interestingly. For example, skill is the new collar, you just said, and then earlier you said, a mixture of blue and white collar. So that sort of does show us what the present day people who are into MRO have to be. And the importance of reverse mentoring, no doubt, because newly coming out tech reverse mentoring comes in so way. So thank you very much for those insights. And Sonal, you have your hand up, and you have just mentioned here just in time training. Would you like to tell us something about that?
Sir, as I said in my introduction also, that we need to have cost optimization. But again, there is a need on the field also to maximize availability of technicians on the field, sir. So one more concept of just-in-time training, which many of the organizations are now including, which will include, there's not only basic training, it will include that every stage of upgradation or every stage of a technology coming in or a technician coming in, some basic training, then hands-on training that will have to be given in short capsules as per requirement. That is just in time. You don't give him extra. You whatever job you are employing him, you just give him on that particular job. So that again concept has to be is a very essential concept in today's world, which will definitely will have to be applied for cost optimization. But it gives at the same time it gives challenges that how many courses can you develop, how many resources, from where do you get, because requirement will just spring up at any given time. So that optimization is again a big challenge in this learning and development. That's it, sir.
Thank you, Sonal, for that. Mr. Arun Krishna, please kindly go ahead.
Yeah, it is other than what General Kapoor and Commander Sonal has said, I just want to add two more things, that there are some soft skills and global awareness which an operator must know or must understand what is happening around globally. And then he should learn and update accordingly. And second thing, whatever AI or other tools which you use in diagnostic methodology, actually, in order to open the bolt, you need a technician with a spanner at the location itself. So you can't separate anything out of anything that this will replace it. So what General Kapoor has said is very rightly, that technology as well as the human resource both should go together. As the technologies are developing, we need to upgrade people, we need to update skills of the people who are operating actually and working in the MRO. So these two things also, and now everything is available on your hand. So whatever is happening in the best industries all over the world are available offhand to anybody. So that sort of learning and training we need to provide to our operators, so that they should be fully aware of the things which is happening in the best industry available in the world. That is what I wanted.
Thank you very much. Absolutely, what you just said, that eventually the spanner, the person who's holding the spanner or the screwdriver or the test equipment has to know what to do. Otherwise, everything else fails. So that is so important, and that is I totally agree with you there. With that, I will come to the last part of this panel discussion, and wherein I will be requesting all of you to give your closing remarks before we bring it to an end from whatever you heard till now, whatever you want to say. So may I first request General Anil Kapoor to go ahead and tell us what he wants to say.
Okay, continuing in the same vein, I'd like to conclude by saying two things. One is, when we look at a systems lens for skill development, learning and development, I think we need to create a system certification. How do you certify a greenhorn? how do you certify a semi-skilled, and how do you specify or certify a super skilled when it comes to basic skills? That means, am I a greenhorn in 3D printing, or I'm a black belt Six Sigma in 3D printing? So I think quality certifications are very, very important. And to my mind, at the systems level, we need to create these kind of certified courses and certified programs where individuals go through the certified program, understand the complete nuances, including quality nuances. Because it's not only the quality of repairs, it's also the quality of your workmanship. It's quality of your craftsmanship. It's your quality consciousness as an individual. And more importantly, your quality for the, I'll come to the product side now, quality for the product. I mean, am I putting a spurious spare? You are the man who's going to actually do the MRO. Are you sure you're not putting a spurious spare? Because given a super specialist, a poor or a low quality spare can actually turn the tide against him as a MRO specialist. So therefore, one is the systems view certification, including quality. And the second is the product view certification. That means today, if it is Ashok Leyland must certify, they must train individuals in MRO experts who understand what does a ALS spare stand for, what does it look like, what are the various RFID and other touch points which will distinguish a spurious from original. I mean, that is the level of detail this training requires. Because MRO at the macro level appears very good. At the micro level, it's all about quality. It's all about MTBF, mean time between failures. It's all about your quality of workmanship, your culture that you develop for yourself and for your organization towards this very important aspect. And here I will share one more example. In US here, there are some shops which are you break, we fix. I mean, these are some individuals who have got together, opened these shops. You could take anything. So I took my iPhone, which was refused by Apple. Apple guy said, we cannot repair this. You'll need to dump it. So I just thought, let me give it a try. So I went to this UFix. He said, no, sir, I am not for Apple. Please go down the street. That guy is certified by Apple to open an Apple product. So I said, can't you do it? He says, I can. But I am not certified by Apple. I'm certified by AT&T. So if it were an AT&T product, I will do it. If it is Apple, please go there. And I went there and that guy said, okay, get it here. Believe you me, he charged me $100. But within 5 minutes, he opened the radio, opened the handset. He had all the wherewithal to do it. And he replaced the screen, had actually cracked. He replaced the screen. He had the screen also. So I think when we look at a future MRO repair policy, we need to follow these kind of models where it is not anybody who can open any shop. I mean, those days when of our childhood, when you had a wayside guy who would repair Bajaj, Lambretta, Fiat, Ambassador, anything, I think we need to move to the next level where we have a system certification and a product certification certified by a regulatory body. The regulatory body could be the industry itself or somebody who gets outsourced. Because when we look at Skill India as the big program, I think these need to become ingredients of the program for effective employment and, if I may say, effective outcomes. Otherwise, there will be no outcomes. Outcomes will be the way they were even before Skill India came, and it's of no use. So I think there is a huge vibration between government, academia, industry that is required. This kind of synergy can only result in such a outcome. Else, I don't think we will be hitting the nail on the head with quality of workmanship and craftsmanship in fixing learning and development as a future perspective. Thank you. So if you permit me, I'll like to take leave. And
Yes, most certainly. Thank you very much, in fact. So thank you very much, Anil Kapoor. You have given us, and viewers, doubly thankful to him because he's on a visit to US and he's joined us from there. And he has, especially, the experience which he recently has quoted and the matter of certification. So these are all actual way ahead, which is laid out for the viewers for considering. And I thank you very much, General Kapoor, for being with us today. Now I
Thank
will
you,
be
sir, and thank
requesting.
you, panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Kapoor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Sonal.
So now I will be requesting Commander Sonal to give his views. Then finally, I will request Mr. Krishna to give his views. Sonal, kindly give your concluding remarks.
Sir, firstly, as Anil Kapoor brought out the quality of training, it's a culture of quality has to be integrated as a very key point, or rather the foundation point of learning and development center of a MRO. It is I fully agree with his views on this. Secondly, again, as I brought out about the technology centers, the technology centers will have to be certified by OEMs, or OEMs should, whenever the equipment manufacturer actually should design a program for the training part of it also. That should be a wholesome program. That wholesome program can be used for the type training, as we call it. The basic training will have to be done on basic fundamentals, as we discussed in the very first part of the discussion, wherein multiple skills and knowledge can both be inculcated into the technicians. Yes, the second part in the technology centers, when we get into uh, here, when we get into equipment training, herein we'll need OEM support, and OEM uh, uh, you should have that IELTMs, what sir had brought out. So they were at a very preliminary level till now. This particular part, OEMs will have to focus and jump over in a big way to enhance the standard, to meet just-in-time training, to meet concepts of on-type training, to meet field expertise, to develop field expertise, wherein it will not be basic maintenance. It will have to be uh, defect DIDR, what we call defect identification and rectification, and there will be complex defects which come on field. So that all this training will definitely require very complex structure, and it will have to have with due certifications, a body at national level to certify such institutions, as well as the training programs will have to be developed uh, to further on MRO training and learning and development. Sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sonal, for those insights and the concluding remarks. May I now request Mr. Arun Krishna to kindly give his concluding remarks.
Since I was from the industry background, so I will put it in a different perspective, that industry which are into MRO, now the revenue which they earn, 3/4 of the revenue they earn from the MRO activities. 1/4 only belongs to manufacturing activities. So since large part of the chunk of their revenue are from MRO, so they should focus more on MRO training and development, learning, development, and all that, to see that it grows further. Now, my focus is that if part of the revenue, you fix an amount or you fix a percentage of amount for the MRO learning and development activities, it will lead the MRO activity and the growth of this sector for the particular industry and for the nation as a whole in a very good way. And it will bring other industry also to follow the same, because what we do generally as an industry is focus everything on manufacturing, and then whenever MRO comes, they focus on the MRO rather than MRO should be the main focus, because after sale, it belongs to after sale service. And it is because of the MRO that people actually see that this company which has supplied me a product are actually able to service it as per the requirement or as per the MTBF which has been prescribed while delivering the equipment. So these are very important things that we need a balance, that to earn a revenue as well as put something for the MRO learning and development, so that this goes further and people continuously learn and adapt themselves for the future technologies. That is all I got.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arun Krishna. You have given us very powerful insights in what you just said. Especially, you have mentioned that how it will benefit the OEM, the company itself, which makes so much sense, because 3/4, if you're saying, is the amount of cost, which rather the revenue they're generating from MRO related activities, then it makes eminent sense, a lot of sense, that that is a place, if it is delivered well, like paraphrasing what you said, that it will really not only lead to the company benefiting, but everybody also benefiting from it, and better, like you initially said, customer response, so customer satisfaction. So, and in fact, in our daily lives, when we're using various types of machinery, even at home, we do realize that we build a sort of an image of the company from where we have bought, not only on the quality of the product, but also on the quality of the maintenance which they provide. That's a very powerful insight which you have given. Thank you for that. And thank you for being a part of the panel. We look forward to having you as a panelist whenever you are available. And with that, viewers, we come to an end to another one of our very interesting, insightful panel discussions. I thank the panelists for being a part of the discussion today. And the links to the profiles of the panelists are there in the show notes below. And you are welcome to contact them directly through those profile links. If you want any further assistant information or guidance, they are open to that. And do subscribe to our channel if you feel that it is useful to you. And we look forward to having you back in our future panel discussions. And if you are a MRO professional who is watching this video, you're welcome to be a part of our group. Drop in a message on the links there below, and we will send you an invitation to be a part of our group. And you can also come in as a panelist if you are wanting to share. The purpose of this platform is simple, that the wisdom of those of us in MRO, in a complex field which is challenging, have been the decades of information. We give a platform for them to share with the viewers who are interested in this subject. So once again, after thanking the panelists, I would like to bring this particular panel discussion to a close. Thank you very much, panelists. Jai Hind.
Thank you.